Do you remember? Remember how you felt the first time you watched the Ten Commandments on a tiny screen every Easter? Or on a calm night on the weekend? As Moses raised his arms in front of the Red Sea, the old TV's blue light and the sound of the epic score could be heard. Everything looked great back then. Just right enough that we believe everything in that movie. Egypt was real, as were the desert and the wonders. But time went by. Things became clearer to those eyes that had not been clear before as the TV got bigger. As a child, I never saw the quick flash of an underwear line under Moses' robe. There were hairstyles from the 1950s in ancient Egypt, current boot prints in the sand, and a plastic doll in place of the prince's body. We don't read the 10 Commandments like kids do in the living room these days. Here are the 15 movie mistakes, accidents, and hidden features that we need to look at again. Things you may have missed all those years ago. 15. That moment when Moses' robe was torn. It's a detail that has been there for almost 70 years, but almost no one has ever noticed it. Fans of the movie will always remember the scene where Nefertari hugs Moses and cries, "I will not live, if you must die." It's a great example of an operatic tragedy. With fuzzy screens, black and white TVs, and low resolution back then, almost the whole truth was hidden. In the old, fuzzy version, Moses' torn robe seemed totally harmless, like it was just an effect meant to make things more dramatic. HD, on the other hand, showed everything in one frame. When Ramesses pulls Nefertari away from him under the torn robe, Charlton Heston's cotton underwear line from the 1950s is so clear that slowing it down makes no sense. Some people are shocked when a scene that was supposed to be painful and sad turns into an accidental underwear show, while others laugh out loud. The 1956 crew almost surely didn't know, which is funny. For them, it was just an extra layer of clothing to protect Heston. Today, though, that detail has a completely different vibe. It breaks the holy mood and turns Moses' sad aria into a fashion malfunction with an unintentionally sensual undertone. 14. The blue flag waving right in front of a background that was drawn. In what seems like an innocent scene, Moses watches as the Egyptian city is built and tells the guards to fly a blue flag. As soon as the guard sees the signal, he waves the blue flag. But when people watch it again in HD, they can't help but laugh because the flag flaps right up against the painted background. At that time, Hollywood used matte paints to make things look three-dimensional. The pyramids and faraway gardens of the building were just paintings on huge glass panels. In 1956, everything looked real as long as the lighting between the center and background stayed mostly the same. But HD doesn't forget. The fabric looks like it's brushing against a painting on the wall when the guard waves the flag. It's too bright and real. The lighting is flat, the lines of the backdrop are a little soft, and the actor's arm is very sharp. Because of this, the whole big Egyptian city is shown as a design that goes across the set. Fans call this the flag that breaks the illusion or single wave that brings down the whole faraway country in an instant. 13. The Passover night showed mistakes in history, theology, and 60 years of discussion. Being older and seeing things more clearly helps us understand some parts of the 10 Commandments better. And we realize that the scary stories from our childhood didn't just come from the Bible, they also came from DeMille's stories. DeMille's picks in movies. The scene about Passover night is a great example. Kids found it scary, but many religious watchers saw right away that something was wrong when they looked more closely. While the Israelite families eat their Passover meal inside the movie, the outside is filled with scary sounds like screams, crying, and wailing, as if the killing were happening right outside their doors. But the book of Exodus makes it clear where Goshen was. And any house marked with lamb's blood was to be fully protected, even if there was a slaughterhouse right next door, as the movie shows. And HD only makes those sounds worse and louder. At that moment, Joshua looks up and sees a thin crescent moon coming through the angel of death's mist. Passover, on the other hand, is always celebrated on the 14th lunar day when the moon is full. Because of these two small details, scholars came to the conclusion that DeMille put horror and tragedy ahead of religious truth. 12. The chariots leave, but the sky keeps changing colors. Anyone who watched the 10 Commandments on black and white TV in the 1970s or 1980s will remember how exciting it was to see Ramses' army charge out of the city gates, with dust billowing and hooves rumbling like thunder and the vast Egyptian sky stretching out in front of them. We only saw greatness back then. When I watch it again now in HD, though, that old epic glory falls apart like a curtain. There is a consistency mistake in this scene that makes you laugh out loud. At times, the sky changes colors, as if someone were changing the weather off-screen. There is no cloud in the sky in the first picture. A fierce, deep blue that doesn't have a cloud in sight. Next, cut to the second side. And fluffy white clouds come in like in a love story. But in the next shot, which is only 1 or 2 seconds later, the sky is back to being a clear blue as if no wind had ever been there. It's a standard sign of an outdoor shoot that took more than one day and was put together into one action scene. For an outdoor drama, the light changes too quickly, and there was no way to paint the sky again in the 1950s to make it look the same. Changes in the sky might make you laugh, but the next shock will break your mood even more right at the most sad moment of the movie. 11. The most sad part of the movie. Ruined by a piece of plastic. The scene in the Ten Commandments where Ramesses loads his son's body onto the pedestal of the statue is one of the saddest and most haunting. With a fuzzy black and white TV back then, all we could feel was the pain of a dad who has lost his kid. But when the HD fix came, this scene that was once perfect was shown in a way that no one was ready for. The child is lying limp in Ramsey's arms in the wide shot, but the truth becomes clear as soon as you switch to the side shot. It's not even a boy. It's a doll. The hair was as stiff as plastic fibers, the face was frozen, and the eyes were so big and round that they looked like toys and didn't convey any sadness. HD makes every detail of the child so clear that the emotional weight is replaced by a feeling that is both creepy and funny. The moment that was supposed to be the moral center of the 10th plague turns into an uncanny valley mishap that makes many current viewers laugh in shock. It's also strange that this isn't the biggest break in the fantasy. A short time later, the holy desert shows something even more shocking. 10. There are footprints, tire tracks, and dolly lines all over the holy desert. The old, fuzzy prints did a good job of hiding some mistakes in the 10 Commandments. But now that I've watched it again, a funny truth stands out right away. The Egyptian desert doesn't look like a place from ancient times, it looks more like a big movie set where the cast and team have left their marks. When Ramesses yells, "Forward," the chariot speeds ahead. Modern watchers can clearly see a wide tire track going next to the wooden wheels of the chariot. The mark is not on an old war wagon, it's on the path of a production truck. Early in the Exodus scene, the camera pans down and sees rubber boot prints in the sand made by crew members right next to a goat that is walking by. When Moses first goes up Mount Sinai, it's the final moment. When the dolly camera is pulled back, two long, perfectly parallel grooves show in the sand. This is the clear sign of an outdoor film crew. In a religious tale that is supposed to feel very holy, these very common traces break the illusion of antiquity in a matter of seconds. Then there's the part where Moses' own armor makes people rub their eyes again. 9. Right in front of everyone, Moses' holy armor changes shape. People will always remember the scene where Moses comes back from Ethiopia. His shiny gold armor with two crossed wings crossing over his chest looks magnificent. However, HD showed a sad truth with those golden wings. Do not stay still. The left arm goes over the right in the wide shot. Moses gets down on his knees in front of Sethi. The angle changes quickly, and now the right wing is on top. If you slow down the scene, you'll see that they move around a lot, like the wings were moving on their own. It's the usual consistency. But because the armor is so beautiful, with its sweeping gold curves and air of the chosen one, its accidental shifting becomes even more clear, making modern viewers look at it even more closely. A sign of strength. Lost because of a strip of metal trim that won't stay in place. And just when you think the clothing mistakes are bad enough, the sound department pulls off something even messier. 8. The music starts before the musicians even start playing. When we first see the scene where the Egyptian-Israeli musicians are getting ready to play, they look serious. They are sitting upright, their hands not yet on the drums or strings. But if you look closely, you'll see something strange. There is music before anyone starts to play. There isn't any background noise or wind on the microphone. It's a full Hollywood orchestra recording that is as clear as day, with beat and harmony. While the musicians on screen stay still the whole time. This was hard to see in the old fuzzy versions. It was hard to get the exact start of the score because the sound was compressed. In HD, however, the drums and strings start playing before any of the actors move. Additionally, this mistake is just the beginning. Right after, the sky over Egypt changes colors for no apparent reason. 7. In the 10 Commandments, one of the scariest parts is when the creepy green mist creeps along the floors of Egypt. It's called the Angel of Death scene and it hides a secret that will chill your bones. The Angel of Death scene has a cold, uncanny fear, even though it only has a few special effects from 1956. As though death were quietly moving under every door. People didn't understand why the scene was so scary until behind-the-scenes video came out. The team had actually made a blurry picture of a skull out of the smoke that was drifting around. It wasn't clear or obvious, it was just a dark shadow, but it was enough for our brains to recognize something scary and familiar. The end result is scary without any jump scares, fear that comes from subconsciously sensing something that the eyes can't see clearly. But the mind does. What makes the 10th plague stand out is that it was a deadly silence mixed with the sound of grief echoed across all of Egypt. 6. Someone almost died on the set of the 10 Commandments in 1955. The set itself was like a war. The desert sun was as hot as fire, and thousands of extras were crammed shoulder to shoulder, making dust clouds that blurred the camera lens. And 73-year-old Cecil B. DeMille, the king of the biblical epic, stood on top of a 40-meter steel tower. He held a megaphone, keeping an eye on everything like a military general. Then all of a sudden, while giving directions, he grabbed his chest. A heart attack hit like a hammer. DeMille fell down and almost hit the ground below as the team screamed in fear. He was taken to the hospital right away. Doctors told him straight out, "If you keep filming, you will die." Still, DeMille was not a man who gave up. He said that he'd rather fall on the set than in a hospital bed if he had to. In fact, he came back 2 days later with his famous megaphone and led thousands of people in the desert as if nothing had happened. 5. How a Roman hand movement got into a biblical movie. When we were kids, we watched the 10 Commandments and thought it was a true story from the Bible. It was so true that no one thought to look at every hand movement. But when I watch it again now, one simple movement seems so strange that I have to fast forward several times to see Moses bow to Pharaoh. Moses bows his head and puts his right hand on his left shoulder, making a fist. This is how he acts when he comes back from the war in Ethiopia. The old, low-resolution print made the gesture look like a serious ancient rite, but it's not even Egyptian. It is a Roman greeting that is often shown in art from the West. This makes for a strange societal paradox. Instead of making me think of ancient Egypt, the scene makes me think of a European kingdom. This is known as a Western projection by scholars. Hollywood puts Western symbols of power into a biblical scene without meaning to. For a poisonous snake gets away, which causes complete chaos on the set. Snakes were used as real props in the 10 Commandments, not just as religious images. DeMille wanted the scene where Moses' staff turns into a snake to be completely real, so he insisted on using a real cobra. Everything seemed to be going as planned at first. It moved slowly across the sand like a snake. Its scales sparkled in the hot studio lights, making for an eerie, powerful shot. Things went badly after that. It was handled, but all of a sudden, the cobra got loose and ran straight at the camera. In a matter of seconds, the whole set fell apart. The extras dropped their props, the crew spread out, wires were pulled out of place, and lights hit each other, sending sparks flying. Everyone became scared. One bite from the snake could have been very bad. The mechanical team had to work for almost an hour to catch the snake again and make sure the set was stable. No one was ever going to risk their life again for the sake of absolute reality after that. Finally, the scary hailstorm was made from a snack food. In 1956, audiences almost held their breath as Egypt was hit by hail. The sky got darker. Sky was filled with thunder, and white rocks hit the throne of the pharaoh like the anger of the gods. People who went to the movies thought they were seeing one of the most amazing effects ever put on film. But there was a truth behind that storm that makes a lot of people laugh. The Egyptian hail today was actually popcorn that had been painted white. The effects team came up with a great way to keep the group safe while still making a big impact. Popcorn is soft, doesn't weigh anything, is easy to clean up, and best of all, it can be used again and again. When lit up in Technicolor, each popcorn seed sparkled like ice. With multiple layers of thunder effects and fake wind, the safe snack looked like a real biblical disaster. But if snow made of food could fool everyone, the stuff that was used to split the Red Sea will really shock you. 2. The Red Sea. Miracle was made with an oddly gooey element. One of the most famous scenes in movie history is when Moses raises his staff and the Red Sea breaks. In 1956, when two huge walls of water rose to make a way through the sea, people were shocked and thought they were seeing a real miracle. But there was no CGI behind the show. Nothing digital, just water and jello mixed together. The effects team built 2 huge tanks that were bigger than a person and filled them with a thick mixture that looked like gelatin. They then let the mixture fall like a waterfall. After that, the video was played backwards. This makes water rise into vertical walls, making it look like it's standing still. It's a perfect image that fooled millions of people into thinking it was the real ocean. There were a lot of failed tests and hours of shooting that went into the few minutes of screen time. But the outcome changed what a movie miracle really means for a whole generation. 1. Egyptian and Israelite women all have haircuts from the 1950s. When we were kids, we watched the 10 Commandments and thought that everything in it happened in real life. But then HD came along, the picture got very clear, and all of a sudden, a small feature became important. Women in Egypt and Israel all have hairstyles from the 1950s. Back then, black and white TVs with low clarity made the big set curls and straight bangs look like they belonged in an old-timey setting. It was hard to tell that all of the actresses had the same Beverly Hills style beauty because of the soft lighting and fall-through ratio. In the remastered version, however, every wave and curl is very clear, from Egyptian maids to Israelite slaves. It looks like everyone just got out of a hair shop on Sunset Boulevard. If you watch it frame by frame, the Hollywoodization is too clear to be just a chance. It wasn't a mistake with the technology. The style of the time called for it. 1950s, even in holy epics, Hollywood wanted all the women to look beautiful. This made Egypt look like it had the face of a beauty show contestant from the United States. The 10 Commandments is more than just a movie now that I look back on it. It's a piece of history. When we were kids, we watched that old box TV show where Moses split the Red Sea and the plagues of Egypt. Behind the tale were real people who were tired from working in the desert sun and shook when a real cobra got away. They pushed themselves so hard for a movie dream that some of them almost died. That may be why the movie is still popular after almost 70 years. Not because it's perfect, but because it tried to do something that couldn't have been done, even if it meant sweaty mistakes and funny HD mistakes that no one could have imagined in 1956. Leave a comment if you watched the 10 Commandments on an old black and white TV or if you thought the sea really split in front of your eyes. Which fact shocked you the most when you found out the truth? And if you want to know more dark, strange, or long buried news from behind the scenes. Oh no!